Angel de la Muerte by Danielle Ackley-McPhail, from A Cast of Crows. Alida Angelina Fabricio knelt before her family's graves for a very long time. Long enough, the end of one day became the beginning of the next. Long enough, the murmurs of the surrounding De la de Muertos celebrations faded away as families went home or lay down to rest beside their loved ones' graves. Long enough, the autumn night's chill seeped through her cotton robe and into her bones. Lena nearly tumbled away at the barest touch on her shoulder, calling her back to the dark blanket of night and the low, smoldering embers of nearly spent candles glinting throughout the graveyard like fireflies. She would have fallen if not for the thick, sturdy haft bracing her up. Her grip tightened on the smooth wood handle of Santa Muerte's scythe, which had replaced the cobbled-together prop Lena had left home with. Slowly, as if fighting to turn against thick, clinging aether, Lena glanced up over her shoulder. Her right eye burned where the thin glass lens attached to her father's spirit goggles hugged its surface. The left merely burned from spent tears, as it bore no lens. She blinked and swayed, disoriented as the fading wisps of lingering spirits wafted in plain sight, though her goggles shouldn't function without being paired with those worn by her father's crow, Beltran. Lena bit back a sob. She had lost both father and crow in one brief slash by her own hand, their spirits freed from an unfettered evil that had possessed them. Shuddering that fresh pain, she focused on the moment, looking up at the one standing over her, nearly too far away to touch. Lena blinked and pushed the goggles to the top of her head, removing the glass disc from her eyes so she could better see. Much in the way of the restless spirits, the gaze she met swirled with intense emotion, in this instance a mix of anger and hurt and concern. For a moment, reality seemed to flux between the spirit and mortal realm, as if Lena's prolonged use of the goggles had caused the two to overlap. Wisps of aether clung to her grandmother's features, but Lena blinked and they faded away. Even so, something seemed off with Abuela's color. Abuela? Her grandmother frowned down at her. Then she took in the goggles perched on Lena's head, paired with the Calvaris mask and faded blue cotton robe she wore, in a silent plea to Santa Muerte for her blessing, and the frown deepened. Lena and her grandmother had fought earlier over her manner of dress, and Abuela's disapproval clearly had not softened. The frown turned into a scowl, and Abuela quickly shuffled away to fuss over the ofrenda, though she herself had arranged the altar earlier in the day. "You plan to stay up all night, Nina?" Nina, not Mija. The surface of Lena's heart cracked like aged porcelain. She pushed to her feet. The hand she reached out to her grandmother trembled faintly as guilt pinched her belly. Her mother's mother shrugged away before they could touch. Lena frowned as a small ache settled in her chest. Her grandmother was all she had left, yet the two of them only seemed to spark like flint to steel. Bad enough they had fought on this of all days, but worse the precious moment she had deprived Abuela of through her obstinance. If not for Lena's insistence on dressing as she had, her grandmother might have come with her tonight, might have been there to greet the spirits of her daughter, Lena's mother, and her grandson, whom neither of them had seen among the living. Of course, if not for Papa's goggles, of which Abuela most definitely did not approve, perhaps neither of them would have been blessed with that sight. Lena moved to where her grandmother stood before the ofrenda. "Please, Abuela, don't worry about that. We can take care of it tomorrow." "Nonsense. It is shamefully in disarray." Lena closed her mouth on her pointless argument, lips pressed in a thin line. She leaned her scythe against a nearby tree and bent to straighten up the altar as her grandmother wished, before laying out their straw pallets for sleeping beside the grave, as the other families around them had already done. It would be an uncomfortable night, but it showed honor to the spirits of their loved ones to spend these precious hours in their presence before death's shroud separated them once more, until the next year.